Hello, everyone. My name is Rach. I'm a very grateful recovered alcoholic and addict, and welcome to the last session of Infinite Power and Love. We're in a vision for you. We're on page 160. We've gone through the whole book, and we're at the final stage. Let's just read the step that we're on. It's on page 60. If anybody doesn't, if anybody's newer around. So step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Beautiful. 12 magic steps. So I'm gonna jump right in just so I don't, because sometimes I can waffle on. So I'm gonna try not to waffle on too much and just get going with it. So we're at the bottom of page 160. A vision for you, as has been mentioned at the start of the meeting. Sometimes people like to start there because it gives an outline of what is on offer. It talks about the history, how Alcoholics Anonymous came about. It just told us the story about how Bill met Dr. Bob and how they went to the hospital and they met Bill Dotson, AA number 3, and then how they went to the hospital, all three of them, and met Ernie G. And so they're just explaining now, about this, the stimulating and electric atmosphere of the place conspired to let him know that here was haven at last. So this is where we kicked off last week. This is where we thingied last week. The very practical approach to his problems, the absence of intolerance of any kind, the informality, the genuine democracy, the uncanny understanding which these people had were irresistible. The uncanny understanding, I did do a little cross-reference to page 17, where it talks about we are people who would not normally mix. In the second paragraph down, it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines down, it says we are people who would not normally mix, but there exists among us a fellowship, friendliness, and an understanding which is indescribably wonderful. A bit further down this beautiful page 17, it talks about this understanding that we have could potentially be that we have discovered this common solution, and we have this is a tremendous fact that we've found this common solution, and also that without this I know that I'm destined for insanity and death, basically. So back on page 160, that uncanny understanding which these people had were irresistible. He and his wife would leave elated by the thought of what they could now do. So again, it's like action. This has been transmitted through me. I've come into a fellowship, hopeless, depressed, afraid, terror, bewilderment, frustration, and despair. And then now I can leave elated at the thought of what we could now do for some stricken acquaintance and his family. So the impact of when we get well, and then how we can help others, and how that ripple effect goes out into the world. They knew they had a host of new friends. It seemed they had known these strangers always. Isn't it crazy to go into a meeting where you know nobody, you've never met them before, but you feel safe in their presence? You feel like we have this understanding. We were all dying. We were close to death in one way or another, spiritually or physically. And now we're the prospector who's struck oil, Isn't that a beautiful thing? Have known these strangers always. They had seen miracles, and one was to come to them. So I just underlined that word miracles. I did do a little cross reference to page 11. So I've done 11 with an asterisk, and it's over in Bill's story. And he's talking about when Ebby is like, you know, here is a miracle, shouting great tidings. It's just at the bottom of the page. It says, my ideas about miracles were drastically revised right then. Never mind the musty past. Here sat a miracle directly across the kitchen table. He shouted great tidings. And I was thinking about that word miracle, you know, miraculous, divine. I haven't got my dictionary here, but, you know, extraordinary, out of this world, godly. And I looked it up in 164 and more. And the word miracle comes up 7 times in the big book. And the word miracles comes up 5 times. 7 plus 5 is 12. I love those little coinkydinks. I love it. It's just so beautiful. 12 miracles in the big book, like the words. And we have 12 steps. So I thought that's worth mentioning. They had seen miracles, and one was to come to them. They had visioned the great reality. And I love that, great reality, another word for God, right? I've circled the capitals, great reality. So this is a power greater, but this is like a truth, isn't it? The great reality is the reality of God, that we are God. We are surrounded by God. They're loving and all-powerful creator. So again, they're capitalized. So I've circled those. They are referencing a power, you know, a power greater. And again, there's all of these beautiful words to symbolize God in one way or another. I did do 2 cross references here, if you're interested. I did 68 with an asterisk and 133 with an asterisk. So this great reality, this all-powerful creator. So we'll jump to page 68. Let me remind myself. Oh yeah. So you might call it second or maybe third paragraph down, where it says, perhaps there is a better way. We think so, for we are now on a different basis, the basis of trusting and relying upon God. We trust infinite God rather than our finite selves. So I just liked that reference, because it's like all-powerful creator, great reality. Let's think about the facts. I am finite. I'm going to be here for a hot minute, and then I'm going to die and go back into the earth. But this thing, this all-powerful creator, God, nature, the planets, the stars, the sky, the sea, all of it is going to keep on going. And the other cross-reference was on page 133. I hope I'm not going too quickly. And it's where it talks about his omnipotence, which means unlimited power. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines down, just at the end of the first paragraph. It says, but it's clear that we made our own misery. God didn't do it. Avoid then the deliberate manufacture of misery. But if trouble comes, cheerfully capitalize it as an opportunity to demonstrate his omnipotence. And again, I just thought, this all-powerful creator, this great reality. I mean, if we wanted to, we could do cross-references to all of the definitions of the word God. Father of light, spirit of the universe, creative intelligence, infinite power and love, superhuman strength. There's like so many different ways that they've tried to articulate the word God, so it speaks to everyone. So I'm back on page 161. Now this house will hardly accommodate its weekly visitors, for they number 60 or 80 as a rule. Alcoholics are being attracted from far and near. From surrounding towns, families drive long distances to be present. A community 30 miles away has 15 fellows of Alcoholics Anonymous. Being a large place, we think that someday its fellowship will number many hundreds. How cute is that? And written in 1939, that's what they thought back then. And I always just feel really moved, feel really touched by the fact that we are all descendants of Bill and Bob. Somebody shouted, somebody sat across that table shouting great tidings. Hi, Rob. Hi, Elle. You know, sat across the table shouting great tidings. We're on page 161, right at the end of the book. And we're all descendants from somebody's helped somebody else and helped somebody else and helped somebody else. And here we are, 86 years later, on a Zoom call, studying the book from all around the world. Isn't it magic? But life among Alcoholics Anonymous is more than attending gatherings. So I've put a big exclamation mark there. Maybe this is a part of our own story, or we can definitely, we probably know someone who maybe felt that they were going to get this thing, this peace, this serenity, this God consciousness by going to meetings alone. Well, the whole way through the book, it talks about action, 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 action. So it's saying here, this is quite a good sort of warning. We know that it's more than attending gatherings and visiting hospitals, cleaning up old scrapes, helping to settle family differences, explaining the disinherited son to his irate parents, lending money and securing jobs for each other when justified. These are everyday occurrences. No one is too discredited or has sunk too low to be welcomed cordially if he means business. And this if here, like, I always think the ifs are really, really, really important, because they're it's such a short word, but it is so, you know, the word if means dependent upon. And this bit is interesting, isn't it? Because it's like, we're going to welcome you, and we're going to welcome people all the time. But I spend most of my time and energy working with people who I know really want it. And it keeps on telling me throughout the book, you know, do you want it? Do you want it? Do you want it? Do you want what we have? Are you ready and willing? Are you, you know, action, 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 and more action. And that saves a lot of time and energy, because, you know, we've been through that bit working with others where it says, don't waste your time on anybody. If they're not ready, maybe they need to go and have some more experiences. So social distinctions, petty rivalries and jealousies, these are laughed out of countenance. Now, this, Rob might be able to help me out here, because in my book, I've got that countenance means facial expressions. And when I've reached out to people asking them what that actually means, my understanding of this bit is like, it's just laughed off their faces. We don't engage in the rivalries, the jealousies, you know, the social distinctions. It's, you know, we are here to practice. This is Bill Wilson's words. The purpose of a 12-step of a AA meeting is to practice and teach the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And this is why the traditions are so very important, because without those traditions, remembering that, you know, principles over personalities, tradition one, for our common welfare, you know, unity is the most important thing. So we're sort of trained, aren't we, how to keep our groups healthy, and that keeps us focused on that singleness of purpose and keeping ourselves clean and sober and helping the next person. So being wrecked in the same vessel. I didn't actually do, I was just pages jumping into my head, because there are loads of boat references, aren't there? That just reminds me of page 17, where it talks about you know, captain's table, steerage to captain's table. There are loads of boat, but I didn't do any references there. So being wrecked in the same vessel, being restored and united under one God. Isn't that beautiful? With hearts and minds attuned to the welfare of others. I love that bit because it's such a beauty. Is that Lynn in the background there? I can see. I think so. Yeah, with hearts and minds attuned to the welfare of others. There she is. How amazing is that? I've come into the rooms broken, afraid, lost, scared. Page 62, selfishness and self-centeredness is the root of my troubles, driven by 100 forms of fear, self-pity, self-delusion, and self-seeking. And then now we're in step 12, and it's saying that we've been restored and united under one God. We all know that we're God's people. We're brothers and sisters. We're here together, you know, spearheads of God's ever-advancing creation, with our hearts and our minds attuned to the welfare of others. I just find that so beautiful. And, you know, left on my own devices, it doesn't take me long to get back into the selfish and self-centered thinking. So this is why, you know, staying close, following direction, keeping the discipline of the, you know, my program really grounded, keeps me attuned to the hearts and minds attuned to the welfare of others. The things which matter so much to some people no longer signify much to them. How could they? And again, that always makes me a bit emotional, because it's like we've had this transformation. Bill Wilson was talking about this big business deal, you know, that meant everything to him. It didn't work out, and he had those two options. What was he going to do? Go back to his, you know, go to the bar where the chatter and what he was used to, he, you know, needed to scrape an acquaintance, or was he going to turn towards God? And if we look at our own stories, sometimes the most terrible things led us towards this program. Without that, it wouldn't have maybe happened. Under only slightly different conditions, the same thing is taking place in many Eastern cities. In one of these, there is a well-known hospital for the treatment of alcoholic and drug addiction. Okay, so we're talking about Towns Hospital here. 6 years ago, one of our number was a patient there. So Bill Wilson, patient at Towns Hospital. Many of us have felt for the first time the presence and power of God within its walls. So notice those capitals there, presence. I like that presence is capitalized in that sentence, because that's like, it's making me think that God is me being present. God is me being alive and breathing and in the moment, and power of God within its walls. So Towns Hospital is no longer there. Apparently it's a block of flats now, but I think there is a little plaque somewhere. And I know someone who was invited into the flats, so it's a shame that it's not still there. But we are greatly indebted to the doctor in attendance there, for he, although it might prejudice his own work, has told us of his belief in ours. Our beautiful, wonderful Dr. Silkworth, who wasn't an alcoholic, but who dedicated his whole life and career to helping us. And without his brilliant identification of this spiritual malady, the mental obsession, and the phenomenon of craving, we wouldn't have had that medical piece where he could differentiate the difference between a heavy drinker, a moderate drinker, and the real deal. Every few days, this doctor suggests our approach to one of his patients. Understanding our work, he can do this with an eye to selecting those who are willing. There it is again. Who are willing and able to recover on a spiritual basis. So I did a little cross-reference there to page 58. So if you'd like to do that, 58 with an asterisk, and if we go to that page, it's the all-important how it works. First paragraph. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. Usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. There are such unfortunates. They are not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. They are naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. Their chances are less than average. There are those too who suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders, but many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. So yeah, I just thought that little cross-reference of, I didn't actually do another cross-reference there to page 21, where, you know, it talks about the real alcoholic and it differentiates the different, you know, the heavy drinker, the moderate drinker. But this is here it's talking about Dr. Silkworth saying he's understanding our work and he can start to select those who are willing and able to recover on a spiritual basis. Many of us former patients go there to help. Just a little question, I asked it in Thursday's book study actually, but just, you don't have to answer now, but you know, we have hospitals and institutions, we have H&I, we have that kind of service where you can go into hospitals or institutions, jails, psychiatric units. And I just wondered, it's a good question to ask ourselves, have I ever gone into a hospital? Have I ever done any service like that? Is there anywhere where I could ask my GSR of my local home group to say, could I go and do a main share and just to have that experience? Because, you know, these people, many people are out there dying, aren't they? Not understanding that we've got this solution. So then in this Eastern city, there are informal meetings such as we have described to you, where you now may see scores of members. There are these same fast friendships. There is the same helpfulness to one another as you find among our Western friends. There is a good bit of travel between East and West, and we foresee a great increase in this helpful interchange. So again, just talking about the traditions before, and even though each group is autonomous, which means they can select how long their meeting is, the customs of their meeting, what readings they do, if they have a break, if they do sobriety chips, if they have cake, all of those customs can be, you know, up to the group. But the traditions keep everything in a recovery format so that we can go anywhere, east or west or globally, and still feel that safety and security of being in a 12-step meeting. And if any of us have ever gone to a meeting that's a little bit like not in that kind of format, I don't know how you felt, but I've felt a little bit like, where am I? What is this? What's going on? Where's the traditions? Yeah, so someday we hope that every alcoholic who journeys will find a fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous at his destination. Isn't that beautiful to think this was published in 1939, and to now think about how many of us there are out there, how many meetings we have, an abundance, let alone our in-person meetings. We've now got Zoom. Aren't we lucky? Aren't we lucky? And aren't we, isn't it convenient to be able to carry this message? To some extent, this is already true. Some of us are salesmen and go about. Little clusters of 2s and 3s and 5s of us have sprung up in other communities through contact with our 2 larger centers. So the larger centers was Akron, Ohio, and New York. So where Dr. Bob lived, and then where Bill Wilson lived. And I was just thinking about the times when this was happening. And obviously we've got the information in the forward to the second edition about the success rates. And I know we're like big book people, aren't we? So we really love to study the literature and carry the message out of the big book. But if you think about this back in the day, 2s, 3s, and 5s of people sprung up in other communities. If people try to tweak and don't fearlessly and thoroughly follow our path, then it's almost like loads of people are creating new little paths that might not have the same success if it's not, you know, working a 12-step program as outlined in this book. And I guess now the relevance to us now is that we have an abundance of meetings and an abundance of people. And again, if people are going a little bit off the kind of clear-cut message, then I guess it will just go off. But some people might come in and not understand what a 12-step meeting is for, the purpose of a meeting, or, you know, all of that stuff. So those of us who travel drop in as often as we can. This practice enables us to lend a hand, at the same time avoiding certain alluring distractions of the road about which any traveling man can inform you. So, written in 1939, in 2001, there are over 100,000 groups. There is AA activity in approximately 150 countries with an estimated membership of over 2 million. I don't know what the stats are now. Maybe somebody on this meeting does. But yeah, those certain alluring distractions, I don't know. I don't know if he's, you know, I don't know if he's talking about drinking or, you know, whatever. I don't know. But what we can take from it is that they're finding purpose. When they're traveling, it's like, oh, who can I help in that city? Who can I help? Otherwise, I might get distracted by drink or other things that might be distracting. So thus we grow, and so can you. Though you be but one man with this book in your hand, we believe and hope it contains all you will need to begin. I always squiggly underline when it says anything like begin, commence, anything like that, because I just think, wow, it doesn't matter wherever we are in our recoveries, we always have an opportunity to grow because we're in the realm of the spirit. It's infinite, it's ever expanding. But all we need to begin is contained in this book. It just blows my mind. 164 pages, and the doctor's opinion can relate to, you know, my fear, resentment, sex conduct, you know, prayer, meditation. There's so many things in life that can just go to, you know, be answered in this book. We know what you are thinking. You are saying to yourself, I'm jittery and alone. I couldn't do that, but you can. You forget that you have just now tapped a source of power much greater than yourself. So just taking you back to when you first came into recovery, do you remember feeling like sitting there with your sponsor going, I'm never going to be able to do this. I'm never going to be able to do this. I'm not going to know that book, and I don't really want to, do what you do, because I think you're weird, and this is just not going to. And then look at us all now on a Friday going, oh, book study, yay! We've changed, guys. We've changed. And I love this. Whenever I think of like a source of power, forgive me if you've already heard my little tap analogy, but I always think about like this tap being open. When I am willing and taking action for my own recovery and helping others, I feel like I've opened this tap and this power can flow in. But when I am just doing the bare minimum, when I am going back into my negative thinking or, selfish and self-centered thinking, I imagine that I'm like I'm tightening the tap, and I'm literally just going to get a drip of contentment and peace. And it might keep me going. I might be able to stay sober, but how is my emotional sobriety? So I don't know, keeping it simple and kind of just doing what I need to do is always more effective. So I like that source of power, just tapped a source of power much greater than yourself. To duplicate with such backing what we have accomplished is only a matter of willingness, patience, and labor. I haven't got a question mark there, but I'm just going to add one in. And that word willing, I really have been contemplating that word willing a lot recently, and it means, to be ready, to be eager, to be prepared, to be willing. It's just open, isn't it? And patience, if we think about our own growth in this program, and then the patience it also takes to take newcomers through, can be very frustrating. It can be very, the self-sacrificing part of it as well. And then labor, another word for action. So we know of an AA member who was living in a large community. He had lived there but a few weeks when he found that the place probably contained more alcoholics per square mile than in any city in the country. This was only a few days ago at this writing, 1939. The authorities were much concerned. He got in touch with a prominent psychiatrist who had undertaken certain responsibilities for the mental health of the community. So I had to do some research on this because I didn't know ages ago if this was Dr. Silkworth. It's not. This is Dr. Howard from New Jersey, Montclair. The doctor proved to be able and exceedingly anxious to adopt any workable method of handling the situation. So he inquired what our friend had, what did our friend have on the ball? Our friend proceeded to tell him, and with such good effect that the doctor agreed to attest among his patients and certain other alcoholics from a clinic which he attends. Arrangements were also made with the chief psychiatrist of a large public hospital to select still others from the stream of misery which flows through that institution. So I also had to ask my historian friend. So this is Dr. Russell Blaisdell from New York. And apparently he attended, thanks Rob, and he attended the Rockefeller dinner. So he got to hear people talking about, so this seed has been planted and it's spreading. And here we are, little seedlings, carrying the message, like little wishes. I just thought of us that we're all like preparing and sending these wishes out. So our fellow worker will soon have friends galore. Some of them may sink and perhaps never get up. That's so sad, so true. People literally dying every day, right? But if our experience is a criterion, which means standard for judging something, so fact, evidence, more than half of those approached will become fellows of Alcoholics Anonymous. So we could do a little cross-reference there actually to the forward to the second edition where it talks about, it's just at the end, isn't it? So it's on page 20, Roman numerals XX. It just talks about the stats of early AA. And again, I like that as a cross-reference because back then, this is what they had, isn't it? Just clear-cut direction. 163, I'm just going to put that 163. I'm going to put that on XX. There we go. So when a few men in this city have found themselves, when a few men in the city have found themselves and have discovered the joy of helping others to face life again. I'm also just going to put a question mark in there. Am I finding the joy? Have I discovered the joy in helping others to face life again? Because that self-sacrifice, that sponsorship is, you know, it can be challenging at times, can't it? You know, if you've got people who are a bit reluctant or a bit defiant or maybe a bit dishonest, and you kind of know it's like it's not going to work unless you follow this clear-cut direction. And sometimes people can give up on trying to help because they're like, oh, I've tried it, I've tried sponsorship, and they did, you know, they didn't go through with it, or they kept on lying to me, or we had a bad experience. But actually, when you do get to work with someone who is being honest and willing and ready, the joy and hearing them come back to life, it is out of this world, out of this world. So, you know, it's a good question, isn't it? Have I discovered the joy of helping others to face life again? There will be no stopping until everyone in that town has had the opportunity to recover, if he can and will. So again, there's that if he can and will. It's another way of asking that question again. You know, is this person ready? But all we're asked to do is to carry this message, no matter what. That's what keeps us well. And I'll never forget that saying. You know, how do you know if someone has had a spiritual awakening and a psychic change? Because they want to shout about it from the rooftops. You can't keep it, you can't even keep it in, because you're like, it's a bit like, I can't even believe what's happened. Can you? you just want to give it away. Yeah, so still you may say, but I will not have the benefit of contact with you who write this book. We cannot be sure. God will determine that. So you must, there's a must. I haven't got my sign. It's fallen apart. I use it so much. But we always make the must pop. God will determine that. So you must remember that your real reliance is always upon him. So I've squiggly underlined the always. I've also done a cross-reference to page 99, which is just Bill telling us the same thing. Let me just flick to it. 99. It's right at the bottom of the page, the last line. It says, remind the prospect that his recovery is not dependent upon people. It is dependent upon his relationship with God. So that always, I don't know if you all get this as well, sometimes thinking like, am I doing enough? Am I doing enough? Am I doing enough? work for God, and it's like, God, you know, this is the most important thing, isn't it? My relationship with God. I can do all of the other things. That's great, but yeah. So so remember that your real reliance is always upon Him. He will show you how to create the fellowship you crave. Oh, I love that line. And I've put a question mark there as well. Do you feel like you have the fellowship you crave around you? Is there anything you can do to create that fellowship that you crave? You know, starting a book study, if you're into the book, it's a brilliant commitment to have, because it doesn't matter how you feel, you know, doesn't you got to show up, and actually getting you into the book and into the direction, you know, you just got to keep on going. Even, you know, it's a brilliant commitment to have. And then you get to meet, I've got to hang out with all of you every Friday. It's just been amazing. This bit, it just always makes me emotional reading the end of the book. Our book is meant to be suggestive only, and I do love that word suggestive. You know, it means put out for consideration, put forward for consideration. So this book is meant to be suggestive only. And it's suggested that, you know, we take this action, and if we don't, then we won't get the results. So, you know, it's a must, really. It's for me, it's like it's a polite must. Just follow the direction. But I like the fact that it's not, they can't push us into it, because we just wouldn't do it, would we? Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. How humble, how beautiful. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. And this is only going to happen. This God will constantly disclose more to you and us. This is only going to happen if I spend time actively trying to improve my conscious contact with God. Otherwise, I won't hear over the loud chatter of my own selfish head. It just, you know, it's so loud. I have to, you know, I have to work this program for me to hear God. So ask Him, capitalized, ask Him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. I've also put a question mark there. I haven't put any cross references there, but they're just jumping into my mind every time. I might get round to doing a handout about all the times it says, ask God, go to God each day, every morning. Just how many times it reminds me, like, do this every day, stay close to God. It's like, there's probably you know, there's probably like 1,000 times in the book, maybe an exaggeration, maybe 100. So ask Him what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if, oh, that all important. So that there's a promise there. The answers will come if your own house is in order. I've put another question mark after that and thick squiggly underlined the if. But obviously, you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with Him is right, capital H, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. I've put a big exclamation mark there. And just that, obviously, you cannot transmit something you haven't got. You know, maybe there's some people on this meeting who can really relate to feeling quite spiritually unwell. Maybe, you know, running around in working with others, it says we're going to go one of two ways. We're going to go like headstrong into building our lives back up and into getting money and success back, or headstrong into recovery, spirituality, sponsorship? Have you ever burned out and thought, oh my God, I'm working so hard trying to do all the things for others that I don't feel, I can't transmit something that I haven't got. So this is about a real honest integrity of, me doing my best for my program and trying to give that away and not overburning and, trying to keep that balance. See to it that your relationship, I love that, relationship with him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. So capital G, capital F. These are like beautiful promises, aren't they? And they are facts. We are the miracles. We are the proof that this is a reality. Oh, abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to him and to your fellows. Again, it's capitalized. I love this line here. Admit your faults to him and to your fellows. Just another question. Have you ever had any spiritual pride where you don't want to admit your faults to your fellows? I don't know why my hand is up. Because you're, your little miss or little Mr. Recovery, you're bouncing positive energy, and then it's like you've set yourself this task of, and it's not great, is it? So I love this humility, this humanness. Admit your faults to him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. So, through our steps 4 through 9. Give freely of what you find and join us. I'm just thinking of all these cross references that I haven't got there, but I'm pretty sure it is 129. It is where we've scratched the limitless load. I might put that in there. Give freely of what you find. Let me just double check. I think I've got it right. 129 is one of my favorite bits where it talks about this limitless load, but we only get to keep it if we give away the entire. Yeah, we've barely scratched the limit. So it's just that first paragraph on 129. He may not see at once that he has barely scratched the limitless load, which will pay dividends only if he mines it for the rest of his life and insists on giving away the entire product. So I'm just going to put a 164 there and a little 129 with an asterisk on that page. So give freely of what you find and join us. Unity. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit. Capitalized. Fellowship of the Spirit, God, Spirit. And you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. Again, these are capitalized. There are different definitions for the word trudge, but the one that I've got is to walk or march with purpose. Isn't like we're under one God, attuned to the welfare of others. We've joined in this fellowship of the Spirit, and we've all met each other as we're walking with purpose along this road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then. I literally always, I'm not going to cry now, but I literally always cry every single time I finish taking the sponsee through the work. I literally cry. Oh, it's so beautiful. Oh, and we finished with some extra minutes. So I guess I just want to finish just by saying thank you so much for showing up each week and for being a part of this book study. Infinite power and love, that's what we have on offer. I'm so grateful to the Big Book Compendium for all of their book studies, all of the recordings, all of the people, every single person on this meeting, especially, who's been a part of this study and done service. So thank you so much. I'm going to stop the recording and open the room up for any shares back. And yeah, just sending loads of love.